Hey guys, welcome to another original versus remake. It has been a while since I've done one of these, and the reason it's been a little bit is because I really wanted to do a good one. I hate doing original versus remakes where one is just so far superior than the other. Like whether the original is so much better or the remake is so much better. I actually wanted to do an original versus remake where both the original and the remake were both solid films. And then I picked a few out, and I thought, hey, I should do them during the Halloween season. So this is the first one I'm going to do. I'm going to do another one right after this, but this is for Fright Night. Yes, the 1985 Fright Night versus the 2011 Fright Night.
Fright Night. I'm gonna end him or he's gonna end me. That's how it's gonna be.
Charlie's gonna find me.
I'm counting on it. You smell that? It's your fear.
Did I kill him?
Hopefully.
Alright, let's get into it. Let's start with the 1985 classic, Fright Night. Great fucking 80s movie. This movie has Chris Sarandon, who's in Nightmare Before Christmas, and he's Prince Humperdinck in The Princess Bride. Has a lot of other actors like Roddy McDowall and William Ragsdale, but I'm not very familiar with their work. The movie is written and directed by Tom Holland. No, not Spider-Man, but this is a horror director. He did movies like Thinner and Child's Play, the original, and didn't do so much really after that, but Fright Night was a great 80s, like, spooky horror film that really didn't do super well in the box office, but it did get its sequel. Don't watch the sequel, but it was always remained as this, like, cult classic that, like, you know, not a shit ton of people saw, but it got this, like, cult following, especially in the 90s and stuff, and everyone wanted to watch this movie during the Halloween season, because it's about vampires and stuff, and yeah, people really get a kick out of this one. But then they did a remake in 2011, Fright Night, which has a much bigger cast. It has Anton Yelchin, Colin Farrell, David Tennant, Toni Collette. The movie is directed by Craig Gillespie, who did I, Tonya and stuff. Another really great film that takes the story in sort of a similar way, but changes the characters, changes the dynamics, changes the ending a little bit, and just makes it more modern and puts a lot of different action sequences and builds more on the comedic aspects than the horror aspects. The original is more spooky and atmospheric. There are some comedic aspects, but it's more spooky. The remake sure has its spooky moments, but it is more played for violent, gory comedy, kind of like a Zombieland and stuff. So, two films, very similar stories, but do it in their own different ways tonally. So, how do I compare them? Which one is the superior film? This is, again, going to be subjective, but let's get to it. Before I talk about the story and its visuals and all that stuff, let's talk about the cast. Let's compare the main characters, actually. Charlie Brewster. Charlie Brewster in both versions are interesting characters. I actually take it back. One of them is a very interesting character. The original Charlie Brewster, played by William Ragsdale. I don't like his Charlie Brewster for some reason. I'm not a huge fan of him. I just don't find him as interesting. He's a bit of a boring character. He's just a character who's just kind of like going through all the motions. He's the character that you're supposed to be rooting for, and yeah, he's just, I don't know, he's not interesting to me. He's not really badass. He's not really, I don't know. Sometimes he doesn't even start off very likable either. He's just kind of a shitty boyfriend, and then the situation starts happening with him. He turns to be a more likable character and a more brave character. He actually gets a character arc in the film. But I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of this Charlie Brewster. However, Anton Yelchin's Charlie Brewster in the remake is great. I love his character. Super funny character, too. It's like that in the remake. Charlie Brewster used to be a nerd, but then he's now got a girlfriend, Amy, and she's popular, so now he's popular, and he kind of treats his friends like they're shit and stuff. And but when all this bad stuff starts happening, he realizes that he is an asshole. He kind of treated his friends like crap, and he actually wants to figure out what's happening to them and why his friends are gone missing and stuff. And at first he doesn't believe like Jerry's a vampire, but then he starts to believe it, and you can believe the anxiety. That's actually the one thing both Charlie Brewsters do really well. The anxiety they feel around Jerry and how they're trying to survive and how they're just unsettled by him. Just I like the remake Charlie Brewster a little more. He's got a little more depth to him, and he's a lot more badass. Like he's really brave. He's willing to protect his girlfriend. He's willing to protect his mother. And I just enjoy him, and Anton Yelchin just gives a much better performance, and it's Anton Yelchin too. So I really prefer the original and the remake Charlie. But what about the Jerry? Jerry is the villain. That's Colin Farrell and Chris Sarandon. Both play Jerry in a very similar way. Because in the 80s, Jerry's supposed to be like a really suave, very cool character and stuff, and cool in the 80s is very different than what's cool in the 2011s and stuff. So in the 80s, Jerry wears like these nice suits, nice collared shirts and stuff. He's got his hair slicked and stuff, and he's just like the cool guy. He's kind of like a cool greaser kind of look. And Fright Night in the 2011 one, he's just kind of like the tough looking jock guy. He's got the white beater. He's showing off his big arms and stuff, and he just kind of plays mysterious because women, a lot of women nowadays do like a mysterious guy and stuff, and he just kind of keeps to himself and just kind of talks like this. He's like, yeah, takes a real man to wear puce. So both very different, and honestly, I actually enjoy both Jerrys very well, actually. I think Chris Sarandon's Jerry is a lot more scary, though. I think he's just a much more maniacal villain. The way he like kind of watches Charlie and stuff, he's just very creepy. Even when he turns into his like vampire, the effects on him just look so much more creepier and crazier and stuff. So, if it comes to like creepiness and eeriness, the Jerry in the original is a lot more of a spookier Jerry. But the remake has a cool Jerry, and he's much funnier, and he's a lot more intelligent. He's a lot more vile. He's very strategic in how he does all his kills and how he just does everything in the movie, and that's why I really enjoyed this new Jerry. Both Jerrys are really cool, and again, they're both sort of horror films. So, do I go for the more articulate, smart Jerry, or do I go for the more spooky and ooh, Jerry? I'm actually going to go with Chris Sarandon's Jerry, actually, more. Because as much as I love Colin Farrell's performance, Chris Sarandon, I think he steals the original Fright Night. And he just bleaks with his atmosphere. He's like a Dracula or Frankenstein's monster or the Mummy, like one of those classic movie monsters. And just the way he does it, he just breathes all this atmosphere and creepiness. So I'm going to go with the OG Jerry on this. Now, you gotta go with the teacher now, Peter Vincent. Peter Vincent, Roddy McDowall, and David Tennant. These are extremely different Peter Vincents. They're both like TV stars who have this show called Fright Night and stuff, and they talk about vampires and hunting the undead and stuff. But Roddy McDowall's Peter Vincent in the original, he is like a very older man. He wears like these suits and stuff. He's much older, he seems wiser and stuff, but he doesn't really believe in the vampire stuff. He's just kind of doing it for the fame and stuff. But he seems a lot more like kinder and more understanding and stuff. But in the remake, David Tennant's Peter Vincent, he's a lot more flashier. He's got like the long black hair. He looks like Chris Angel and stuff. He's very vulgar when he talks, and he's got like a wife who just says, "Fuck off, you bitch, motherfucker." Like he's just so vulgar and in your face and stuff, and he orders shit online, and he's all into the weirdness and stuff, but he actually has like a tragic backstory and how it kind of ties into Charlie and Jerry and stuff. It's really interesting. And I'm just going to say right away, I love David Tennant's Peter Vincent.
Please, I need your expertise, and you're the man on this stuff, so...
I fucked up.
Yes, Roddy McDowall does a great job as Peter Vincent in the original. I really enjoy his Peter Vincent, but David Tennant is awesome. He is so funny. He's so enjoyable. And at the ending, when he joins Charlie to fight Jerry, he kicks so much ass. I love him. I think he steals the movie in the remake. The original, Jerry steals the movie, but in the remake, Peter Vincent steals the film. He is so great. I fucking love him. Easily my favorite part. Now we gotta go with the supporting cast. That's like your Evil Eds and your Amy's and the mom and all that stuff. They both have their ups and downs with this one. Yeah, because the original, I'm not a fan of the Amy. She's just kind of this like bland girl character, no personality, and then she gets bitten, she becomes a damsel in distress, then Charlie has to save her. Evil Ed is also just an annoying character. He's just this asshole character who just like, yo, Brewster, and stuff like that. He's super annoying. He gets turned into a vampire just like he does in both versions. And it's really weird. His designs are very weird. I don't even like him when he's a villain. I don't like the Evil Ed in the original. And the mom is not even a character. She's not even a character, really. The remake, though, does all of them better. The Amy is a lot more enjoyable. I like that they actually give a proper romance with her and Charlie. And she kind of understands what he's going through. She doesn't believe him about Jerry, but as soon as she sees it, she believes it, and she doesn't doubt it. I like Toni Collette as the mom. She actually has a character. She is an actual character, and she does some pretty cool shit in the movie, too. And I even like Evil Ed. McLovin himself, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, plays Evil Ed, and I like him in the beginning because he's not an evil character, really. He's actually a very likable character who just wants his friend back and everything, and he wants to find out where his other friend is and why he's missing, and he just wants his friend Charlie to help him out, and then when he turns into a vampire, it's actually quite sad and quite tragic, and I think he does a good job as the vampire, so when it comes to the remake, it does the whole supporting cast much better, so one goes to the remake on that one.
Please go, it'll be all right. Go, take her and go. Amy, take her and go.
Catch you later.
Now let's talk about its visual effects. CGI, practical effects, the makeup, all of the effect works, and the prosthetics and stuff. This is very easy. It's the original. The remake has some cool designs, but they're very much borrowed from the original with the vampires and their faces like peel open like that and everything. And yeah, like it's cool in the remake, and it's a lot more bloodier because it's 2011, a lot gorier and everything, but the original just has so much cooler designs. The vampires look so much different. The teeth, and even when they get burned in the face with the crosses, it's a lot more. You can see the melting of the skin, and even the scene with Evil Ed when he turns into a wolf, which makes literally no sense, but it's cool. In the way his body goes back into his normal self, the way they did all the prosthetics and the visuals in the original film is just far and away superior to the remake. The remake focused more on the characters, which is what I really enjoyed, actually. And it focused more on some of the darkness of the comedy and everything. And it focused more on its characters. But the original focused more on its style, its eeriness, and, of course, its amazing effects. The vampire effects in the original just classic, and just easily it gets the edge easily. Now let's talk about its atmosphere. Because they're both vampire films. Vampire films are very atmospheric films, and this once again goes to the original because the remake has some creepy moments. There's a scene where Charlie has to go next door to Jerry, and he has to rescue his other neighbor who's a stripper, and he has to try to get her out and stuff. And it's like this very quiet scene, how he's slowing her, getting her out of the house, and it just goes horribly wrong. That's a great moment, and I think that's technically the only moment that's actually kind of spooky. So the original has so many atmospheric moments and creepy, eerie shit. again, because of its prosthetics and its visuals, and they have a lot of fog, and it feels like a very Halloween movie. And just, like, every time when Jerry shows up, he's like this force that's like, it's scary. Even like the scene, both versions have the club scene, and in the remake, he just kind of takes Amy. But in the original, he literally is dancing with Amy, and she's like dancing with him and looks in the mirror, and she's like dancing with nobody. It's so unsettling. And then he even kills the two security guards that try to stop him. Like, Jerry is not afraid of anyone in the original film, and it's just like, you just feel like he cannot be beaten and stuff, and it's creepy. And there's a lot of moments that are very creepy, especially with the laughs and the creepy noises. Yeah, when it comes to atmosphere and just all around scariness, the original gets it either way. Yeah. So let's talk about the final thing, because we're at a tie here. So as I established, like, Fright Night does it better. The Jerry's so much better in the original film, and the visuals are better, and it's much creepier, got the atmosphere. But the remake does all the supporting cast better. It's got a much better protagonist who you can love to root for. But what has the better story? What's a more gripping story? They're both very similar, but also a little different. They do things differently. Like the original, Charlie and Amy are kind of like the outsiders in school, but in the remake, they're kind of like the popular kids. They both have like the similarity, like Charlie knows that Jerry's a vampire, but nobody believes him. But they kind of drag it on a little more in the original. In the remake, it just kind of gets into it more, and I like that the remake just goes with it. And the original is trying to be more atmospheric and build on the tension. But what I like about the remake is that it goes balls to the wall crazy with it. They have a lot more action and stuff. Just, it gets more insane, and just like even the climaxes are each different. Like, in the original, it's just Charlie and Peter, and it's just a lot of like cross burnings and just, on fire and stuff. But in the remake, like, Peter Vincent has like all these crazy weapons. Like, one of them explodes the vampires and everything. And then Charlie has to light himself on fire and grab Jerry. It's like, it's just so crazy. And I don't know, something about that, just the pacing is so different in each one. If you're looking for like more of an atmospheric and spooky pace, like the original's so much better. But the pacing in the remake is it's a lot more funnier, energetic, and it just keeps going, and there's never a dull moment. And that's kind of why I like the story a little better in the remake. They're both very similar stories, but the remake did something smart. It took its story, and it didn't do a shot-for-shot remake. It didn't just be the same movie. It has the same story, but it told it in a very different way, made all the characters very different, focused on characters that you never even focused on in the original film, and they put a lot more dark comedy in it, a lot more action in it, and they just tried to make it its own movie. Even though it's still a remake, it's its own movie as well. And I actually really like that. Sure, like the score and the eeriness of the original is awesome, but the remake just kicks so much ass. The fact that it's so underrated makes it even better. It's a gem, and honestly, I'm going to say, the remake is a better film. So yeah, I might be wrong. Like, some people might not agree with me, but you know what? That's my opinion. I think the remake's better, but that's what you guys are here for. You guys decide which one is the better film. Is the original Fright Night better or the remake? Let me know. Comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like this video, please subscribe to this channel and join the dark side.